Thank you everybody for joining. I know that a lot of people have lost a lot of interest in the crypto market at the moment and probably don't want to check their phones and check their apps for what's going on the market. So it can be difficult to sort of motivate yourself to join on such sort of crypto related events. But I'm really glad that we've had the turnout that we've had. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. So I'm Shyla, who is now a communications lead at Uplift, and I'm joined by Omji from Encode Club, and we're just going to be having a chat today about Encode Club and what they do. And so thank you so much, Omji, sorry, for joining. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about Encode?
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Omji, head of research at Encode Club. What I'm doing is I'm researching, scouting interesting project in our ecosystem and providing accelerators. So you may wonder what is our community? Encode Club is a Web3 education community, learning and building together through all different types of programs with the leading protocols in the space. So we organize programs like education series, which is open to everyone, boot camps for the people who applied and you got accepted. You will have the free boot camps and hackathons with a different protocol, so you're building your projects on top of it. And then accelerator, especially after the hackathons who want to become a startup, they join our accelerator and we help them to accelerate their process. And those events are all happening both online and in person. And afterwards, we also help our community get jobs or fundings, depending on if they want to get a job in industry or if they want to build their own startups.
That sounds really cool. So thank you for that. So just to summarize, Encode Club is like a blockchain learning provider, and it provides and it hosts different workshops, hackathons and boot camps, that kind of thing. And this kind of training can actually lead to actual jobs. So I know there's lots of people in our community who's always pinging me and saying, can I have a are there any opportunities to work with Uplift, that sort of thing. And this would be a really good, Encode would provide you a really good skill set to be able to get actual jobs in the crypto space. So that's really cool. Could you tell us a bit more about your partners? Do you work with particular blockchains or people, or how does it work?
So as we mentioned, Encode running different workshops and bootcamps and hackathons, and all the programs are partnering with the different long-term partners, mostly different blockchain protocols, major protocols in L1, L2, such as Avalanche, Polkadot, Solana, Polygon, Algorand, Starkware, Near. I think if you think about most of the major protocols, they're kind of all working with us. If you're curious, you can also go to our website. You can see all the list of the programs, and you can see that what kind of bootcamps or hackathons are being provided. For example, now we also have a Solana bootcamp teaching Rust. We have a Solidity bootcamps usually sponsored by different protocols. Last time it was Avalanche, also BitDAO, and then we have a Teal bootcamp, which is given by Algorand side. So it's really depending on which protocol you are partnering at that time. And we have all different programs with major protocols. I think most of them, if you name one, I think most case I can say, oh, we are working with them.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you've got some really strong partners there. That's great. So a lot of our community, like I mentioned earlier, they may be quite new to the crypto space. So it may be recent joiners, maybe joined in the last 6 months to a year. So they're very early on in their crypto journey. And then we've even got people on the other end of the scale who have been in the industry for a while. So we've been looking at your different programs, and could you tell us a bit more about what our members of our community could benefit from one of your programs, such as there's one, Educate? So what would they get in a program like this, and what could they do with it? Where could it lead them?
Okay, so I think it really depending on what's your goal. For example, our Educate series is really open for everyone, and a lot of workshops are also quite open to beginners or non-tech people as well. So if you're looking into intro to I don't know Solana, ecosystem overview, those kind of thing, I think it's open to tech, non-tech, regardless to your background. Even though you don't understand maybe 100%, I really recommend you to just listen to it, because in the end, like, you cannot learn everything at one day, but you just need to get exposed. So you're watching like different intro series. You can watch like intro to DeFi, intro to NFT, and just like one thing I want to make sure is like all our programs are made for builders or people who want to work in industry. So nothing is related to investment advice. So if you're looking for investment advice, perhaps this is not a thing. But we are also like teaching about like all different like ecosystem overview, technical workshops, and then you can also like watch what kind of like a new apps are built on that ecosystem, especially when you're watching our hackathon finale. So when you're a beginner, I really recommend you to go to different like educate series. There's a lot of recorded version on YouTube, or you watch like AMAs from like a different founders of different protocol, why they built that, what kind of vision they have. So these are very helpful source for everyone. And then if you're a developer and you're looking into building something on blockchain, but you are not sure what to start, I recommend to apply to our bootcamp, because through that you may get all the skill sets you can build on. It's quite intensive one, so you need to be ready to be committed, but it's like free because it's sponsored by different protocols, and it can help you to get prepared to jump into the industry.
Lovely, thank you for that. So I think some of our community will be really interested in that, so thank you for sharing. So we've talked a bit about the developer bootcamps. Does that mean people could come along and learn from scratch how to be a Web3 developer, or do you think they need coding skills already? Or do you have different levels of courses? So for example, starting from beginner, never touched.
So we have a kind of different level of course as well. So like we have a normal Solidity bootcamp, but we have also expert one. So if you're a little bit experienced with the Solidity, then you may apply for the expert one. If you're interested in like ZK, we can have a ZK bootcamp as well. Like it's like less often than Solidity one, but we have like expert and ZK one. If you're interested in like Rust, or so you can come to Rust one or Teal. Now you were asking like if they need any skills already. Good question. So usually if you're a Web 2 developer, knowing JavaScript or Python, it's usually easier for you because you can pick up everything much faster. It's a matter of like learning new grammar, it's not like you need to learn how to think in programming way. If you have like zero knowledge on developing, perhaps it can be a little bit hard. In our bootcamp, we always have a little quarter for the people who doesn't have any background knowledge, so that either they can be a super developer with this opportunity, or they maybe don't want to be a developer, but the people who want to become a product manager or BD, they want to have a glimpse of how things are getting developed. We kind of have a quarter for them, but majority of our bootcamp applicants are having Web 2 developer knowledge. So you can see that they were developing in JavaScript or like a Python, or they're like a computer science students. So if you're in that category, I think it's rather okay for you to pick it up. If you're not the case, you will need a like super extra effort to follow, because our bootcamp is quite intensive, 90 minutes a day, 4 days a week, with the homework and reading materials. So if you want to really follow up, I recommend you to kind of pick up the basics JavaScript or Python, depending on which language you want to learn. And those materials, perhaps you can watch some pre-recorded video out there. But then when you join the bootcamp, I am sure that if you already have those basic one, it'll help you a lot to mapping your knowledge.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. So it sounds like you're not teaching from scratch. You're teaching people who already have that Web 2 knowledge, Web 2 coding knowledge, to then transition into Web 3 languages. That's helpful to know. But if there is somebody, I just thought I'd say, 'cause I used to actually teach computer science, and I used to always tell my students to go on to something called Code Academy to learn like Python and JavaScript, and it's just a free website. So if you ever want to learn like Python and the basic Web 2 languages, you can just go on to something called Code Academy and it just takes you through like loads of lessons, so you can start completely from scratch, from like print hello world to more really complex things. So yeah, that's something that they can sort of use to step up. The other thing I wanted to ask is, how are these different courses funded?
So like how it works is normally for some every program of ours are free to developer or like anyone who want to learn. So if you were worrying about that, like, oh no, like I need to like invest like my money in it, no, like actually you can come to learn free. Just you need to be quite committed, especially as we talked about bootcamp is like really intensive one. Technically, even though you have no background knowledge, you can come and learn, but as we said, like it'd be very difficult to pick it up. Like from I think week 2 you will start to feel like a lot of burden, so I really recommend to watch something like JavaScript or Python basic. As like Charlotte just mentioned, there's some materials out there. Funding wise, so all programs are free to developers because it's all funded by protocols. For example, when we are making a Algorand bootcamp, so it's all funded by Algorand. So like it's directly from protocol. Like Solana, we are running it with like Solana. So it means that like those protocols are investing their funds to train developers. One thing I am confident and saying that like we are the one of the best is it's like free with the actual teacher in real life, like a live session. I mean, it's online, don't misunderstand. So it's online, but it's not like a recorded one, like you really actually have a chat with a teacher. You can ask questions. If you have a developer experience, I think you all like agree that there's a moment that you need to talk to somebody to asking questions, like a Stack Overflow in person, right? So we have actual teachers, and then it's free. And then protocols are asking kind of nothing in return from you except you learn, and which is actually yours in the end. So it's not like a protocols are asking that because we paid for you, I don't know, you are locked with us, you need to use our ecosystem only, you need to work for us. There's no such a condition. So this is, I think, really great thing from all different protocols that they kind of agree on training next generation developer without really locking them into anything. So I really want all of you taking the advantage of this and learn and be free to discover every opportunity ahead of you.
That's so cool. Like I didn't even realize that it's completely free. There's no charges for anybody. They could just come along, learn coding on different platforms for different languages, and then potentially end up with a job with one of your partners. I think it's really good. And it's important what you said about it's not restricted. So one thing is that you go onto the internet, like on YouTube or wherever, and you'll get loads of ads telling you to, you know, join this bootcamp and this coding workshop, and obviously you've got to pay for those, and this is absolutely free. And the other thing is, like you said, you're not being funded by like a specific blockchain, which then you then committed to that blockchain if you complete their training. So that's really good that they've got that freedom as well to you know, use it wherever they want. That's really cool. I don't know where I'm echoing. Oh no. Okay, so could you tell us a bit more? I know that you teach hacking, so there's courses in there around hacking. So obviously, it's like white hat hacking, I'm guessing. So could you tell us a bit about? could you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay, so I think because like a hacking and hackathon, a lot of people, especially who are not in the space, like not even like blockchain, but like who are not in the IT space, may thinking that like a hacking and hacker sounds like very dangerous, like based on all the movies and so on. But actually hacking in here says that like maybe in business field you heard about like gross hacking, so such as you're hacking something and building something. So our order workshops around the hacking is more to educate people that you learn the tools, like so they're like you can build the projects much easier. So like we are also like teaching like, you know, hard hat truffles, all this kind of tools to build or like making your own smart contract. And then the another thing is also we are like providing like how to say prototyping or like fundraising related workshops. So when builders are hacking, you know, their projects, they know how to pivot, they know like how to move like faster, what kind of things they need to give up, what kind of things they need to focus, and perhaps like they realize that what is the right stage to apply grants or like getting invested. So hacking, I will say that it's literally just same as like a building something, and all those like hackathon, like it comes from like a hacking and marathon, so that like you keep building something within the limited time. Image of like a breaking things are very different. Breaking into something to break the security is very like far away from what kind of hacking we are doing. So if you want to build something, like the hackathon is like a perfect place to do, and all the workshops we are giving is around that to make it easier for you. What kind of tools are out there you can use? For example, recently, very interesting workshop we had was also Intro to Solana. Many people think that you need to know Rust to build something on Solana, but then if you know JavaScript, like you can use the anchor, and you don't need to write like single line in Rust to build something and try. And then like when you have a like Python background, perhaps you can use PyTeal to build something on our ground. So you don't need to really learn new language. It's like kind of typical library style. And then if you know also Python, you can try Viper, means that you can do a lot of the cross-chain products. So such as we are providing all these tools that you can hack your project.
That sounds really cool. That sounds really inclusive of all these sort of different languages and stuff. So that's really interesting. I didn't know about that with Solana. I thought you had to build on Rust. So yeah, that's really interesting to know. So could you tell us anything else about Encode? What else they do?
Okay, so now like we talked about Bootcamp and Hackathon. So you may think like after Bootcamp or Hackathon, what kind of path I have? I think mainly there's like a 3 different paths. One is like you are a developer, you want to get hired, because not every good developer want to build a startup, which is totally fair. And then you want to get a job, and we have a talent team. So our head of talent, Laura, she's amazing. She gonna like interview you, try to understand what's your needs, and try to match like right protocols. Also, we have a job board, so you don't need to go through Laura, but you can also see our job board, like applying job. So perhaps like you can land it on Web3. And then second path can be a startup founder. So you get to Hackathon, mostly like I think 90% of the Hackathon winners want to come to our accelerator, especially our online Hackathon. Usually it takes like 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes like 8 weeks. It can be really longer. So you are actually building the product and you are getting ready to launch on testnet. You come to our accelerator, like 10 to 12 weeks program. Every week you're like learning different sessions, getting feedbacks. And in the end of the accelerator, perhaps your goal is like applying grants if you're very early stage, or like getting invested. This is like a 2 different typical way. And third is also maybe after all this learning, you may realize this is not your cup of tea. So it can happen that I don't want to be in startup, or like I don't want to be really Web3 developer, but I may like look for different path. So this could be just like simply learning from you. You are enjoying like blockchain space, but maybe you don't want to work there. So I think there's like a multiple way you can discover. And the other things I can imagine is so that you're either getting a job or applying to the accelerator, and then we're gonna have a intensive training that to make you as a good founder.
That sounds really fun. I like that you actually then try and help people, sort of guide them towards the kind of role that they could go for. So that's really, really good. I think that's really needed in this space, to be honest, because I think a lot of people are navigating things like that by themselves. And yeah, something like this is really needed in this space to nurture those people who've shown an interest. So yeah, that sounds really good. So you guys have had your seed fundraise. Sorry, I can hear an echo. That's why I'm like stopping talking. You guys have had your 5 million seed fundraise. Could you tell us how that's going to help grow Encode, and where do you guys see yourself in the future?
Okay, so one thing is, of course, like when I think it's not only about the Encode, like whenever like startups are raising, it's a lot about like a booster your growth, right? Like if we're like scaling up, and then our team has been like growing crazy. Like last year when I was joining Encode, I was like 7th. Now we are like almost 20. So like to boost up like this like exponential growth, our fund's gonna be a lot used for facilitating all the amazing program we are now running. We are kind of slightly overbooked, so like we're gonna focus on like finishing all of them very successfully. And another thing, like Encode in 5 years. In the beginning, before starting this AMA, we had a chat about this market condition. I assume that in 5 years, it can be reserved for, but like the next perhaps like a little bit more than 1 year. Perhaps it can happen that we're going to be in very like a bearish market. So our goal is during that bearish market, we want to be here supporting developers and builders and founders, telling them like, you know, like you're right here, like perhaps market is a little bit silent, perhaps still there's a lot of people making innovation silently behind the scene. We are here, like free education program. If you want to spend time, there's a very limited downside. What are you gonna lose in the end? Like your time and effort a little bit, but you actually learn something. And then worst case, the company you were working kind of, you know, failed, you're gonna get hired in different places. So we kind of want to give the message to developers that don't get depressed too much and just keep focus on what you're good at. And we want to provide all the educational materials. So perhaps like in 5 years, Encode gonna have a like massive community of developers who went through this bear market together. They will keep learning, so determined. A lot of like startups gonna be like resonating, especially like last year after Hackathon and Accelerator. Some of our so projects were like raised and they're ready to survive like next 2-3 years without like a, you know, major problem, which means that like I think all of us can be very focused on either building, in our case, like focusing on educating builders. And in 5 years, I can imagine like all of them kind of settled in their own position in Web3 as a founder or developer or like a BD product manager in any places. And perhaps we're gonna, I think, share the success story by then.
Oh, that sounds really nice. I know that that's something that I love to see when I was, sorry to go back to my teaching days, but it reminds me a lot about seeing the progress in your students and seeing them go on to, you know, actually get job roles and things. That's where the job satisfaction comes in. So I know that that's something that will be really satisfying for the people who, you know, you and your team behind Encode. That's the thing that will make it all worthwhile when you see these people in a few years' time actually develop, you know, flourish into these CEOs and, you know, developers for blockchains, maybe developing their own blockchain. So
yeah, exactly.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think it was a really crazy time because, as you said, that like last winter, I think a lot of people were having a really harsh time. But if you look into our recent bull run, like during like 2021 and like, you know, early 2022, all the very successful one, they start to build their projects since maybe like during the winter market, the bearish ones. So perhaps all the projects we are looking now, this market, who are gonna be so determined and going through all of this, they are the one who are gonna be very successful in 2 years. So I think there's our job lies that we need to be there supporting them. When they need education, we provide. When they need advice, we provide. When they need support, like we give them a support. So for me, it's quite exciting. I'm not like exciting about this like gloomy situation. I know that people are having difficulties, but I'm more exciting that there's like no such bottom we go more. Now it's the time like we build in silence, we kind of hold hands, pushing forward. And then in 2 years, which like even like 5 years, we're gonna say that all those projects gonna be recognized, acknowledged by communities, and then they will get rewarded about their determination and all their effort.
Yeah, I agree. Like what we mentioned earlier, the best projects sort of keep building through these times and really stand out from the rest when it comes to the next cycle. So yeah, that'll be really important. What about Encode then? Like I know that you mentioned you were at Consensus. Do you have any other events planned where people can maybe come and meet your team?
So I think one thing it could be very interesting is like in July, there's ETHCC Paris.
Yeah.
So during ETHCC Paris, Encode is going to make a hackathon. It's not announced yet. It's so alpha leak. So you all know it's happening. So if you're interested in building something, we're going to have a hackathon with a Starknet. Especially like if you're interested in ZK rollups, this is going to be a great opportunity to come learn and build something. You can also learn like a Cairo, or like you don't need to use Cairo, but you can learn Cairo. Like it is another language used for Starknet. Many hackers or like many non-hackers are asking or like contacting me that, oh, I'm not good enough, but I'm really interested in your program. If you think you're not good enough, like I want to say that like no, you are totally enough to attend. it's not like we're gonna pick up the 3 worst projects and like posting everywhere and that they are the worst one. In the end, what can happen to you? You may not win, but you'll learn the things. So if you feel like you're not good enough, like don't be afraid to come and just asking questions. This is a great things to do. I used to go to hackathon before joining Web3, Web2 hackathons. For me, when I was learning like front end, hackathon was the best place because mentors were there physically locked. So they anyway have a time for you. Maybe normally they're really busy. You can go to them, you can ask questions. So if you're interested in building something, or if you want to build something with a developer, so you're like a product manager, you want to look for your next CTO, like who to founding something together, Hackathon is the perfect place. Come and you can build. So we're gonna be in Paris. Hackathon gonna be over the weekend. So if you're interested in, please like book your accommodation in advance so you can stay around. And we're gonna announce it in a few days so you can apply. And when you apply, please write it there that you met me at Uplift. I will make sure that you will be in.
Oh, lovely. That's really good. So thank you for that leak. And yeah, it's really interesting to know, like ETHCC is meant to be like, usually these ones beginning with ETH, right? They usually have like the big developer crowd. So it'll be a really good place to be if you are looking to, you know, become like a Web3 developer, or if you're already a Web3 developer and you want to learn a bit more. So yeah, thank you for saying that as well, that you don't have to be an expert to take part in these hackathons. You just need to be in the environment and you will learn because of the amount of people that are there and the mentors and the help that you can get over there. So the support that you can get. So thanks for that. That's really helpful. Is there, I just thought if there's any questions from anybody listening? Have we got any questions for Omji? I feel like I've not had any hands up, so it's possible that there's not any. No. Okay, that's fine. Well,
also like if you have a question but you don't want to ask, I don't know, in public, you can DM me over Twitter. You can search my name, Omji Park, on Twitter. I think I have quite unique names, so there are going to be very few people you can see. Or like you can search Encode Club, and then also you can navigate me quite easily. My DM is open currently. Usually when I'm visiting conferences, I kept my DM open. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Also, Omji, if you could just send us all your sort of website and social links and things, and I'll just post them in our Telegram as well as our Discord channels, just in case anybody wants to follow Encode Club or ask you specifically any questions, they know where to go. So I'll be posting the links when Omji passes those in all of our channels. Yeah, perfect. So this session has been recorded, so so that we can play it back later. And yes, if you missed anything and you want to re-listen to it, we'll be sharing it again, the actual recording of it in probably by tomorrow. It should be shared. So thank you so much for your time, Omji. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon in ETHCC. Which one was it? Paris?
Yes, it's this.
Yeah, I hope that goes really well for you. And thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.